Hello everyone, welcome on in. So I've had a lot of requests for more guides, and I've had a lot of people ask during streams like, "Hey, do you have any tips for Huntress? Hey, like you're making a lot of those shots. What you have any advice?" And so you know what, I'm making a Huntress guide today. It seems to be my guides seem to be doing pretty well comparatively, so I think I'll keep making little guides. If you guys want to see any other I don't know, killers, add-ons, things, I'm probably gonna make a flashlight video. I'm just worried that they're just gonna change the flashlight's work again, or you know, break something like they did with this update. Today we're talking about the Huntress, so I got a few little tips and pointers, and then honestly the rest of it is just experience. Every single killer, it comes down to experience. It's gonna come down to game sense, but I'm here to just tell you little things that'll help speed up that process. So let's say you're new to Huntress, and you're in matches. Things you really need to focus on is being patient. That applies for most killers as well, because then you can wait out dead hards. You cannot swing when you know, like, be patient, make sure you can get the hit. Because if survivors see that you're missing swings, they're gonna try to do more things to you that'll just embarrass you, make you annoyed, make you angry, and then that'll cause you to swing even more frantically, which it's just a snowballing effect. Like, I even do it sometimes when I'm not focusing. Stay focused, be patient. This really applies for Hatchet. Wow. This really applies for Huntress because while you're holding a hatchet, you have pressure on the survivor. Because you can hit them from just about any range if you know what you're doing. While in a chase, let's say you M1 them, now you're in a chase, just holding the hatchet, you don't even have to throw it. Just by holding the hatchet, you can zone the survivor, making them go to areas they don't want to loop in. So let's say the survivor's running straight. They have a choice to go left to an unsafe pallet or a dead zone, or to go right where you have clear line of sight with your hatchet. Just by holding the hatchet, they're going to try to strafe bait out the hatchet. But if you're able to just get closer and closer and closer, that's going to force them away from that loop that they want to play. And then if they make him play for it, you can usually get the hit, get the down. One thing Huntress is really good at is zoning, and you want to take advantage of that. That's pretty much what it is now, this again, it applies for most killers. You want to zone survivors as best as you can. Like when you're at a pallet, instead of breaking the pallet, make sure they're on a bad side, so they have to spend a few extra seconds getting somewhere good. Because let's say they're at the corner of the map. If you force them to the corner side, that means they now have to go around you as you break the pallet, which will give you a few extra seconds, which may result in a hit. You gotta keep these things in mind. So make sure you're zoning properly, either with hatchets or just with your movement, and be patient with your throws. So every survivor, again, this applies for every killer, but I'm just making it clear with Huntress. When you're in a chase, make note of which survivor you're chasing and learn them. So while you hold a hatchet, usually that's the best time to learn a survivor. If you see they're just wiggling left, right, left, right, left, right, frequently and frantically in a predictable pattern, they're easy to kill. If you see they're occasionally going left, right, left, left, right, then you know they have a little bit more experience. And if you're ever at a point where they have a choice to frantically dodge or go to an area and they do like a quick dodge and maybe they tuck behind something, or they're very good at... So a lot of survivors that have a lot of experience under their belt, they are very good at unpredictable strafing. Like they will do a few things to make you think they're basic and Pepega, and then they shake it up. A good survivor is constantly changing what they do to evade the killer just to keep them on their toes. If you become predictable, you become easy to kill. So also with Huntress, it's good to identify the weakest links as well on the team. So if you get into a chase at the beginning of the game and you're going, man, a gen's about to pop and you still haven't gotten a hit, just leave them. You need to find a weaker link on that team because Huntress is a snowballing killer. If you're chasing a survivor, also keep in mind you're a 110 speed killer. If you don't know what 110 mean, it means you're 110% speed, which means you're 10% faster than survivors. If you want to know the exact numbers, it's 4.4 meters per second, whatever. So make sure you're going for the weakest link, because then you can hook that survivor in a dead zone, and someone's going to have to come save them. It could be the good player, or it could be another bad player, and then you're applying more pressure. Huntress can snowball so quickly. She can down multiple people at once. I think I have some footage I'll try to show on screen. All this talking, but I'll try to show footage on screen where, like, I'm sort of making use of the techniques I'm explaining. But because Huntress can hit survivors from any range in a few seconds, you can down people and then continue to hit other survivors. You can down one person, down another one, and then do damage on a third and then start hooking. Because you know that third one isn't going to come back, and if they do, then you have a third down. So make sure you're learning survivors every chase. That goes for every killer. This is just good advice for every killer, and then a few exceptions for Huntress. Another thing I'm going to say is while learning Huntress, don't be afraid to experiment. So there's going to be some loops where it looks like you can shoot over them, or it looks like you can shoot through a little tiny hole. Test it out. You might lose that match because you're testing loops out, but you know what? Next time you're in that situation, and a survivor's going to think, hey, I'm safe behind this loop, and then, whoop, you squeak it through a little tiny hole and get that crucial hit you need. Make sure you test things out. I will say, Autohaven, well, not Autohaven specifically, the auto parks in general, they have a lot of loops that look like you can shoot through and shoot over them, and they can't. The hitboxes on some of those walls, like the scrap walls, if you've ever played Huntress before, you probably know what I'm talking about. The scrap walls, those are terrible hitboxes. Some of them you can shoot through, some of them you can't. Also keep in mind when you're throwing a hatchet at a survivor over cover, if you can, try to have a fully charged shot, because then you don't have to worry too much about arcing. It depends on the loop, though. And also step back from the cover you're aiming at. If you're right in front of the cover, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, you seem to just break your hatchet instantly on the cover rather than if you're standing a foot back. It's a weird thing. Maybe the hatchet launches from lower in your waist and curves upwards. Yeah, I don't know. But make sure you take steps back. And also, make use of windows and whatnot. Like, I tried getting a lot of footage today to show you guys stuff. Like, a lot of the stuff it sounds like common sense. But if you see a survivor running towards a window, have a hatchet ready and wait for them to be locked in the animation. That's crucial. Do not pre-throw at a window, because if a survivor's smart, they'll run out the window and last second turn away and you'll miss your shot. So be mindful of that. That's another thing that goes into being patient. You want to be patient. Hold your hatchets until you know you can get a hit. And if you can, for extra points, charge up your shot. There's many different ways to play Huntress. I play more of a fast fire Huntress, which really punishes me sometimes against certain survivor teams. But I like letting loose hatchets out really quickly. You'll see other very skillful Huntresses. They are slow and they will only release on a charge shot. And that's smart because a hatchet flies really fast when it's fully charged. And it's very hard to dodge if you actually aim properly. Also, another piece of advice I'd like to give is try learning Huntress without add-ons. At least any add-ons that will change the... Actually, just try no add-ons. Because with the hatchets, there's very precise timing you need to know with how fast you can let loose a hatchet. So when a Huntress charges her hatchet, there's a few things that happens. She pulls one out, giving the survivors an indication that, like a sound indication, okay, she has a hatchet being readied. She goes, huh? You know that sound. During the time that you're lifting the hatchet up, there's a brief moment that you can't let go instantly. So you have to wait for that charge up period to go away. Then there's a second stage. So say you let go a hatchet as soon as possible. That hatchet is going to have a very large arc. So if you aim it higher up in the air, you can usually shoot it over walls and whatnot if you're really good at what you're doing. And the hatchet will travel way slower. I've had it a few times where I've used it to my advantage, where I threw a slow hatchet in front of them. and it worked. And I've had it where a few times I've thrown a slow hatchet just because I had to let it go and I was hoping it would hit, but because it was too slow, I just missed them, you know? So there's that period that you can't throw your hatchet, then it goes into hatchet throwing stage where the hatchets are slow and don't go far, and it's an arc, okay? And then the longer you hold that hatchet, it'll become a more straight line that you're throwing with. It'll travel faster and further, okay? And then finally, once you get to the end of your charge up time, you'll hear a little a ping, a little ding, a little ching, you know? I don't know how to describe it. Maybe I'll put some audio. But yeah, that's what the charge up sounds like. Once you hear that sound, you're at the max charge. If you hit the survivor with that, you'll get extra blood points, if you're worried about that. And it'll travel as fast as it can, and in theory, as far as it can. Of course, if you aim up a little bit higher, you're able to account for the very small arcing it does. But other than that, that's what you need to know about that. So I say try to learn Huntress without add-ons, because then you can learn her base kit, and you can learn the timing. And once you have that down, you're able to start adding fun things on. Don't use the Iridescent Head in its current iteration. It sucks. It's annoying to go up against. It's not fun. And you won't learn from Huntress. Because then you don't know what it's like to hit someone with a hatchet and then have to close the chase. So just don't use that, at least in its current iteration. If they made the Iridescent Head similar to the Iridescent Button that the Deathslinger has, where it only one-shots outside of a certain range, I think that'd be fair. I think that'd be fair game, and I think I'd be willing to use that, because then you have to get long shots in order to one-shot, and it would feel so good to get a cross-map on a full-health player. Oh my lord, you have no idea how good that'd feel. Then we have, so that's the Iridescent Head, don't use it. We got the Begrimed Head, which what it does is when you hit a survivor with the hatchet, they suffer the mangled effect for about 120 seconds. And it slows down their repair speed as well. Doesn't stack with anything. Or at least any other add-ons. So just know, that's a cool little thing. The slowing down survivors for 120 seconds, that's more of a gimmicky thing. Because think of it this way. If you're chasing a survivor, you hit them with a hatchet, odds are you're usually going for the kill. And then you finish the chase. Let's say that takes 30 seconds. I don't know. You were at a bad loop. 30 seconds on the chase. Cool. You hook the survivor. Now let's say it takes another 10 seconds to get to a hook. Then it takes another at least, I don't know, maybe 40 seconds to get the save, give or take. Then they decide to heal the hook. Now you're looking at maybe 10 seconds on the slow down the repair speed. I wouldn't run this hatchet just to slow down the repair speed. I'd run it for the mangled effect, just to make it slower at healing teammates. But even then, it's like a sloppy butcher on your hatchets. But even then, it's still... Again, in most situations, you're going to be going for the kill, right? But I guess it's good, like, if you're just hitting multiple people at once and they're all mangled, right? Glowing Concoction. A lot of people say this add-on isn't good. I think it's really good, in my opinion. Say maps like Coldwind Farm, and you have a lot of corn. If you hit one person through the corn, you're going to get the down, because you can see exactly where they are, exactly how they're strafing, and then you can get the kill. There was one match where I went in with just Glowing Concoction, and I destroyed them, and I got so many corn hits that I would never be able to get, because partially corn blind. I'm legally corn blind. So it's actually pretty decent. Also, if you hit someone at a loop, say, you can see exactly what kind of mind games are going through the wall. It's like I'm all ears. Most of the community either knows it can be really good and close a chase instantly, or it's just most situations you don't get to use it. It's one of those hit or miss things. So don't underestimate Glowing Concoction. I wouldn't say it's the best add-on, but I enjoy using it personally. So what it does is it just shows you the aura of a survivor you hit with the hatchet for 5 seconds. That's it. It's pretty cool. The next one is the Infantry Belt. It's pretty infamous. It gives you 2 extra hatchets to start with, and you also have an increased max of hatchets. That's really good. Going from 5 to 7, it cuts out your reload times by about half. If you know what if you know what you're doing. And reloading, not having to reload is so good. Saves you so much time. The next one is a very good add-on. The Flowery Babushka. Considerably increases your wind-up time. And if you're wondering what considerably is, I'll tell you the number right now. Considerably is minus 12%. So that's the exact number for the Babushka. It doesn't sound like a lot. 12% is a lot. Especially if you're a player that likes going for fully charged shots. This helps with it. So that's a good add-on to run. But like I said, do not run the timing add-ons, and I would even argue the exhaust add-ons, until you learn Huntress's base kit. Learn the killer at its core, and then go from there. Like other killers such as like Trapper, they sort of need some add-ons to help a lot, because only being able to carry one trap is the worst thing ever. So, this one right here, it's kind of a gimmick. I don't like it at all. It just clutters your screen. But what it does is it shows you locker auras within 36 meters. Okay, cool. But if you know your tiles, you're gonna know where a locker is. I guess there's some instances where it could save you a second or two. I don't think it's worth using, but to each their own.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important message.
Have you ever wanted to be cool? Well, subscribe to Picklesoup. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Now you are cool. Back to the video. The next one's going to be the Rusty Head, which mangles your targets for 120 seconds. It's pretty much like the Begrimed Head, except it doesn't slow them down on generators. It just mangles them. Same thing applies to this. If you're hitting someone with a hatchet, you're usually going to down them, usually going to hook them. That chops off about, give or take, 70 seconds. So I guess you might get use out of it if they try to hook heal, but usually if they're hook healing, it means you're not pressuring the hook, or it just means they have will make it, which will just kind of negate this. So I don't know. I don't think it's very good. These two heads, it's whatever, but if you want to run them, you can. The next one is exhaustion hatchets. Oh man, when I go up against a Huntress that has these, my heart breaks. It's like, oh, there goes Dead Hard, there goes Head On, there goes Balanced Landing, there goes Lithe. All of those things get negated by exhaustion hatchets. All you have to do is hit the survivor once with the hatchet, and sometimes even sprint burst. If they're at a generator and they decide not to dodge your hatchet, they don't get sprint burst now. So yeah, pretty much all the good exhaustion perks it negates, except for sprint burst, which can be negated, but it's only if they're playing dumb. What it does is when you hit them with the hatchet, they're exhausted for 90 seconds. That's really strong. That's really strong. 90 seconds should be more than enough time to end a chase. This one, it hinders people when you hit them. This is an interesting one, because the hinder effect is pretty unique, and it helps you close up the gap. I can't remember. Is there an add-on that slows down cooldown time? Yeah. So like these two right here is an interesting combination, because it slows down your cooldown time, and then it also helps you close the gap as well. So you know, that's interesting. It's an interesting one. I personally don't use it. I think it has potential, but I could be wrong. Hinder, if you're wondering what that status effect is, it slows people down. You know when you get hit by a clown bottle and you slow down? That's what hinder is. So yeah. The next one I have the deer skin gloves. These moderately decrease reload times at blockers. It doesn't stack with other add-ons. You used to be able to get it to stack with other things, and you could also pair that with Iron Maiden, and you could literally go through the locker opening animation before the locker closed. Like, you'd be walking away, and then because the locker animation wasn't synced up with it, it would close as you were walking away, and it was super weird. These reduce your reload, so moderately reduces. This is 20% for the deer skin gloves. If you pair that with Mad Grit, I think it's still, I think it's faster. I could be wrong. Maybe it doesn't work with Mad Grit. It says does not stack, but I think it's just with add-ons. But I could be wrong. But yeah, so that was always an interesting thing. We got the Fine Stone. It's pretty much useless, if you ask me. It makes people bleed more for 60 seconds. First of all, unless you're in an indoor map and you're not really colorblind like me and it has very bright floors, you're not going to be chasing blood pools because usually you'll have scratch marks to follow. But, you know, to each their own. And it just makes them bleed slightly more for 60 seconds. I don't think it's worth an add-on slot. I really don't think so. The next one is the leather loop. It's like the infantry belt, but half as good. You can pair these both together to have, what, 7, 8 hatchets. That's insane. If you need 8 hatchets to end a chase, you're not playing Huntress right. But, you know, there it is if you want it. Next one is a Mana Grass Braid. This moderately decreases the hatch-up wind-up time. And if I look at the numbers right here, moderately is, drumroll, -8%. So again, it's one of those things that it doesn't sound like a lot, but it helps. Now wait. Yeah, so this is like the babushka, but worse. So you can pair those together to have, I guess, what you could call the machine gun Huntress, because you're able to charge your shots insanely fast. And then the O-Calf, I was saying that this could work well with the seed concoction. But, I mean, it's one of those things that you can run if you want. I personally, I play with no add-ons, unless I wanted to go for a specific build, or I have been getting shafted the last 30 games in a row. And I just want to win under my belt. So moderately decreases the cooldown between throws. That's actually pretty handy. It's pretty handy to not have the little slowdown after a throw and in between. Because after you let loose a hatchet, you're slowed down a tiny bit. And there's also a cooldown before you can swing and also charge another shot. So this helps with that. If you pair this with Babushka as well, again, goes towards machine gun. Oh, I skipped one. So this one slightly increases movement speed while you're winding up your throw. This can be good. It has a chance to be good because at loops, there are some situations where you can hit a survivor over the loop and they're going to play around that. And because of that, you can just keep holding your hatchet and wait until you know you can get a hit. Make sure they don't crouch under anything. And that extra 5% speed that it increases you by is pretty good. It's pretty good, not gonna lie. Next one is the other seed brew. That just hinders you for 15 seconds. Well, they're slowed down for 15 seconds. Could be good. I guess you could stack it with the other one. Does not stack. Okay, well, does not stack. Easy as that. The next one is the blindness hatchets. These ones are a gimmick. Unless they have bond or maybe aftercare, they're not going to get much use out of this. And even then, it's so situational. It's not really game-changing. I mean, if you want to make survivors blind to auras for 30 seconds, I guess you can do that. The next one is the freaking bandage half. Slightly decreases cooldown between hatchets. You can totally pair this with the O-Calf. And to get the exact number on that for you guys, slightly reduces is -10%. So if you pair that with the O-Calf, you're -30% in between shots, which can be cheeky. The last one is another exhaust one. You'll see this one commonly used because it's a great add-on. 30 seconds is usually enough to end a chase as Huntress. And so just removing Dead Hard, Lithe, Head On, all those things you might have to worry about, easy. And then this one, you'll probably never use. Course Stone. Makes people bleed for 30 seconds. It's whatever. Those are all our add-ons. And you can pair them up however you'd like. Again, I can't stress this enough. I highly recommend learning Huntress. Learning the timing of all of her shots and everything like that without add-ons. Because if you always play Babushka and say O-Calf, then your charge-up timing is going to be weird, and your shots between or interaction between shots is going to be weird. It's going to mess with your head, and then you'll be like, wait, why couldn't I left click there? I could have made that normally. Oh wait, I learned with add-ons, right? So the next thing I want to go into is builds. Builds I like running, builds that are pretty good for Huntress, or just just perks that are good for Huntress. So, really good perk, Corrupt Intervention. This is good for most killers, but it's really good for Huntress because she's such a snowballing killer. This forces the initial interaction. This will either make them not be able to repair generators where they spawn, giving you a little bit of more map control. And also, it forces most survivors towards the side of the map that you're on and you're patrolling. So it just forces that initial interaction. And sometimes you can even get it down so fast that you get another interaction from it because they can't do the initial 3 gens, right? So Corrupt is pretty good on Huntress. I use it all the time just to give me some gen control because I'm not running Pop. And there's a lot of times where Pop would have saved me so much. The next one's Barbecue and Chili. This is just for fun cross-map snipes. Like, it's so satisfying to get a cross-map snipe. I've done a few without Barbecue, but it's way easier to get it with Barbecue. It also gives you map knowledge, and it also gives you blood points. You can't argue Barbecue, but, you know, if you're against Barbecue, to each their own. Whispers is good. It just saves you time when checking gens. If Whispers is off while you're checking an area, there's no one there within your tear radius, and then some. Also, little thing to note, your tear radius is 8 meters. Or, sorry, 8 meters. 20 meters. And the song that you sing is, I want to say 40 meters? Yeah, I'm going to say 40. Let me just double check that real quick. Oh, so the lullaby itself is actually 45 meters. So it'll usually keep newer survivors paranoid. But keep in mind, if you use perks like Insidious or anything that reduces your tear radius, they still hear your song. They still hear the lullaby. So, you know, there you go. This is what it sounds like. That's not the lullaby. That's the frickin'... That's her breathing. Why do you need to know the breathing? Whatever. Thank you, Wiki. Okay. Devourer of Hope. You don't need to run this perk. I just run it for fun. It's totally an RNG-based perk. Just a fun one. I wouldn't say it's a good Huntress one. Blood Warden's a really good Huntress one. Personally, in my experience, a lot of people don't expect Blood Warden on a Huntress. They really don't. And you can get some extra kills from it. It's pretty good. Ruin, of course, is good on most killers. Just helps you with that gen control. You can swap it for Corrupt if you want. For the potential of having a longer effect on survivors than 120 seconds. However, you have to be forcing survivors off the gens or else Ruin is irrelevant. And then you're also being held to the mighty totem spawns. An interesting one to use is Monitor and Abuse. Because survivors are pretty much always hearing your singing, and they only start the move whether they have line of sight over you and they see you coming, or when they hear the heartbeat. But decreasing that already small heartbeat to a very, very small freaking 12 meter radius, you're pretty much getting a hit at that point. It can be useful. It will make your FOV go in and out, so while you're at a chase, you'll have that nice, juicy, wide freaking FOV, but as soon as you get into a chase, you're gonna lose it. So, I don't know. You can go for a gimmicky play with that. Situational. It can be fun. Nurse's Calling, another very good perk on Huntress. You'll see this a lot on Huntresses. It's usually expected from a Huntress, but you can still get hits from it. Because keep in mind, when survivors are healing, their hitbox tends to get a little bit chunkier and higher than they'd like. Another very good one, a lot of Huntresses use this, at least experienced Huntresses that don't need that 4th perk. Shadowborn, I don't use it yet. I'm getting close to just to start using Shadowborn. Again, I like using base kit Huntress, but that's another good one. Discordance, it's a decent one. It tells you where 2 survivors are. Huntress is a snowballing killer. Let's say, in theory, you have an injured survivor and a healthy survivor. They're both on the same gen. You down the injured one, then you start chasing the healthy one. You've just occupied 2 people on their team, and now a 3rd one has to go and res that down person if they have the time. Discordance, really good. Keep it at level 1 so you get more pings. Actually, you know what? Level 3 Discordance would be bad on Huntress. Just saying. Agitated, another good one. Just saves you time in between hooks. Bitter Murmurs, another good one as well. It can help you with those snipes. Same thing with Barbecue. They finish a gen, you look over, if you're not in the chase, maybe I can get across map, maybe I won't. But yeah, those are all the good perks I can think on Huntress that are pretty good. Of course, mix and match however you want. I'm not going to say there's one way to play Huntress. There's so many ways to play Huntress. Also, another interesting synergy, Iron Maiden. That helps you reload faster because you open lockers faster, right? So keep that in mind. Yeah, that's all I can think of. So I hope that was useful for the timings. And that's why I say learn the base kit, because there's so many items that'll change the difference between all these different functions. So, you know, there you go. Good luck out there, you Huntresses in training, and I'll see you on the other side. Oh, I should have forced the map. Just to show some of the cover you can shoot over. Or like an auto haven would have been nice. Maybe we'll get lucky. Oh my god. This is perfect. Okay.